Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your history teacher here, and this time I am here with a new chapter of grade 8 history, our past, part 3rd, that is tribals, decus and the vision of a golden age. Students, today we all led a very comfortable life in the cities with all the facilities available to us. But do you know, there are some people who still live in forests, and these peoples are known as tribal people. Students, well, in this chapter you will study about some of the tribes of our country and their struggle against the decus, which means those who were outsiders for these tribals. So let's start. Now students, before moving on towards the chapter, let's quickly understand that what are tribal peoples and how they are different from us. Students, a tribe is a group of people who live and work together in a shared geographic area. And students, a tribe has a common culture, dialect and religion. And students, they also have a very strong sense of unity. A tribe can be a collection of families or families and individual people living together. And students, like us in our society, tribal peoples also divides up the jobs that need to be done among themselves. Students, the tribes had customs and rituals that were very different from those laid down by Brahmins in earlier times in the Indian society. And students, the most important thing about the tribal society is they also didn't have any social distinction like us in our society. And in fact, people belonging to same tribe often thought of sharing same kinship. Kinship means relationship. In fact, however, these tribes had some social and economic differences. So let's see how the tribal groups live. Now students, as I said that these tribes had some social and economic differences, but yet people belonging to the same tribe often thought of sharing same relationship. So now let's understand that how did tribal groups live. Students, during the 19th century, the tribal people of India involved in a variety of activities. Some were jhum cultivators, means they practice shifting cultivation. Students, do you know what is shifting cultivation? Students, shifting cultivation or jhum cultivation is a type of farming in which people use an area of land until it cannot be used for growing plants anymore. Then they move on to a new area of land, and this type of farming is known as jhum cultivation or shifting cultivation. And as I said, this type of cultivation is done on a small patches of land, and the planters, means the people, cut down the tree tops to allow the sunlight to reach the ground, and then burn the vegetation to clear it for cultivation. Then students, after burning the vegetation, the ash was scattered on the ground to increase the fertility of land, and then the seeds were scattered over the land. Then students, after harvest, the land was left fallow in order to allow it to gain fertility, and cultivation was done on another piece of land. And these types of cultivators were found in hilly areas and the northeastern forest in central India. And students, these tribal people always moved from one place to another within the forest, and that's the reason they practice shifting cultivation. Now students, the next way through which tribal people used to live their life were as hunter-gatherers. Students, in many tribes, people survived by hunting and gathering forest produce. And students, do you know there is one such tribe of India named Khonds. The people of this Khonds tribe of India basically found in Orissa, and these tribal people depended on the forest produce such as fruits, roots, meat from hunting, and oil from flowers such as mahua. And students, for their medicines, these tribal people relied upon forest shrubs and herbs and sold forest produce in the local market in order to earn money. And students, these forest people, means the tribal people, exchanged their goods with the things they needed in return for their valuable forest produce. And do you know what do we call this type of system? Yes, you all are right. This type of system is known as barter system, in which people usually exchange their goods. In the same way, these tribal people exchange their goods with the things they needed in return for their valuable forest produce. And students, in some cases, they had to done some labor work also to earn their living. And do you know why? Because when they use the forest product again and again, then the forest products shrank. So in that case, they had to do some labor work also in order to earn their living. And students, in fact, in some cases, these tribal groups also had to depend on traders and money lenders, because they often needed money to buy and sell in order to those kind of goods that were not produced within their locality. So they had to depend on traders and money lenders. But the interest charge on the loans that they get from the traders and the money lenders was very high. But students, still there are many tribes like Beggars tribe from the central India never worked for anymore, because it was below the dignity of the Beggars tribal people to do labor work, because according to them they were the forest men who had to depend only on forest produce for their survival. So the people of the Beggars tribe of central India only dependent on forest produce for their survival. Now students, the next way through which tribal people led their life were by herded animals. Students, some of the tribes used to herd animals and rear cattle in order to their survival. They were pastoralists. Students, do you know what is the meaning of pastoralist? Students, this word pastoralist means one who is not fixed at a particular place, means one who always wander from one place to another with their cattle and sheep, like the Van Gujjars of Punjab and Labadis of Andhra Pradesh were cattle herders. In the same way, the Gaddis of Kullu were shepherds and Bakrawal of Kashmir reared goats. Students, these are the major tribal community of India who led their life by herded animals. The next way by which tribal people led their life is as settled cultivation. Students, not all tribes were living as a nomadic life. In fact, some of them settled down at some particular place, and these tribal groups settling down and started cultivation with plough, like the Munda tribal peoples of Chota Nagpur. Means the people of this community now didn't indulge in shifting cultivation, and as I said, the land was owned by the whole Munda community, and there were only some instances where someone acquired more power than others, and all the members of this community, means to say this Munda community, were regarded as the descendants of the original settlers who first came there and settled after clearing the land. And students, in the Munda community, the one who got more land was referred to as chief, who had special rights that he could even rent out his land instead of cultivating himself. And in fact, the Britishers saw settled tribal people or tribal groups as more civilized as compared to those tribes that was hunter-gatherers or shifting cultivators. Now students, let's understand that how did the colonial rule affect tribal lives, means how the tribal life affected under the British rule. Students, the lives of tribal people changed a lot during British rule. Students, now let's understand how the life of the tribal people affected under the British rule. So, first, let's discuss that what happened to the tribal chiefs. Students, before the arrival of the Britishers in India, many areas in India, the tribal chiefs had their own importance. They had some economic powers and control over the territories under them. In fact, at some places, these tribal chiefs had their own policy, but during the British rule, they lost some of their powers and they were allowed to keep control over village and rent out the land. Students, but they lost their administrative powers and were forced to follow these British rules over their territories. And students, not only this, in fact, they were forced by the Britishers to discipline tribal groups as per the Britishers and had to pay tributes to the Britishers time to time. And students, as a result, these tribal chiefs lost their authority over their own people and were not allowed to execute some of their traditional functions. Now students, let's understand that what happened to the shifting cultivators under the British rule. Students, the Britishers wanted the tribal groups to settle down at a particular place. So, as if they settle at a particular place, then it was easier for them to control and administer settled peasants. So that's why the Britishers wanted the tribal groups to settle down at a particular place. And students, the British wanted regular inflow of income. So they measured the lands and fixed the revenue. And some of the people were declared owners and whereas some other as tenants. But students, the British effort to settle jhum cultivators was not very successful because plough cultivation was not successful in dry areas where water was scanty. Secondly, some of the tribal people faced difficulty with the plough cultivation as their fields didn't give good yield. So, due to these reasons, Britishers faced widespread protest all over the country. And as a result, after facing revolt from these jhum cultivators, the Britishers had to allow them to continue with the practice on some patches of forest land. Now students, let's discuss the forest rules or forest laws that were enforced by the Britishers and their impact on the tribal people. Students, the life of the tribal peoples were directly affected by the changes in the forest laws because some forests were classified as reserve forest as these forests produces timber which the British wanted. Students, do you know what is timber? Students, timber means wood that is going to be used for building. So that's why the Britishers classified some forest as reserve forest, and they also formed some rules and regulations, and no one was allowed to move freely in such forest. And students, not only this, in fact, the fruit collection, animal hunting and jhum cultivation was also banned on such kind of reserve forest. And due to this made the life of the tribal people miserable. So they had to move to other places in search of work. But students, was that beneficial for the Britishers? No, not at all. Well, Britishers faced the problem of non-availability of laborers for their own work in these forests, such as cutting of trees, transporting logs, etc. So students, they came up with the idea of providing jhum cultivators with small patches of land in the forests with the condition of providing laborers during their hour of need. So, in many regions, Forest Department established forest villages for regular supply of cheap labor. But students, still some of the tribes were not happy with these restrictions, and so they started disobeying rules, which sometimes resulted into revolts. And Songram Sangama revolt of Assam in 1906 is one such example. Students, not only this, there are some other problems too. Now, let's discuss the other problems, and the problem is with the trade. Students, during the 19th century, many moneylenders and traders started dealing with the forestmen by buying forest produce and sometimes by providing them with loans. Students, this took some time for these tribes to understand how they got trapped in the vicious cycle of never-ending loans. For instance, in Hazaribagh, that is basically a place in Jharkhand, where the Santhal tribal community were asked to rear cocoons. As you can see here in this image, these are the cocoons from which silk are basically reared. And students, that time the Indian silk was in high demand in European market due to its fine quality. That's why the Santhal community peoples were forced to rear cocoons. And students, the agents used to pay them rupees 3 or 5 for 1,000 cocoons, which was sold for 5 times the price at Gaya and Burdwan. Due to this, the tribals were earning less and the middlemen were making huge profits. As a result, this gave the reasons which made tribals believe that traders were their enemies. Now students, the next topic is the search for work. Students, as we discussed earlier, the different vicious laws that were imposed by the Britishers forcefully on the different tribal community. Students, these laws forced the tribal people to search for some different work for their survival. The plight of the tribals, plight means the deplorable condition of the tribals, made them to leave their homes in search of work. So, from the late 19th century, they had to work either in tea gardens or mine. And many tribal peoples were recruited in large numbers to work at the tea plantation of Assam and the coal mines of Jharkhand. And students, that time the work at mines was very difficult, as sometimes they proved hazardous because of low level of oxygen there. And moreover, the contractors used to pay them very less and didn't allow them to return home. This made the condition of the tribals more deplorable. Now students, let's discuss the effects of all the vicious laws that were forcefully enforced by the Britishers on the tribal community. Students, through the 19th and 20th centuries, many tribes which were against the changes in laws, the restriction on their practices, the new taxes, rules and exploitation of Britishers and traders rose against them and entered into movement against them at various places, such as Santhal community during 1855, Kols in 1831 and 32. Now students, let's discuss about one such tribal leader who raised his voice against these vicious laws of Britishers, and the chief was Birsa Munda. Students, this man over here in this image is Birsa Munda. He was born in the mid 1870s, and students, during the age of his adolescence, he heard tales of the Munda community, that how the leaders of the Munda community urging the people to revolt against the Britishers. Students, Birsa Munda grew up by grazing sheep, and forced by poverty, his family had to move from place to place in search of work. And as I said, during his teenage, means to say adolescent, he experienced many things, like tales of golden age when Mundas were not exploited by the Dikus. Dikus means the outsider. Students, here the word Dikus stand for Britishers, and during his schooling days in his missionary school, he heard that Mundas could regain their rights from the Britishers if they leave their bad habits. And students, he also spent some times in the company of a prominent leader of that time of Vaishnava community, and then he started a movement against these vicious laws, and it aimed at reforming the tribal society. So he urged the Munda community people to give up their drinking liquor habits, clean their villages, and stop believing in witchcraft, etc. And students, in 1895, Birsa also urged his followers to recover their glorious past, and he usually talked with the people about a golden age in the past when Mundas lived a good life, constructed embankments, tapped natural spring, planted trees and orchards, practiced cultivation to earn their living. So he wanted from the people of his community to live that life again, where there was peace and honesty. And he also urged the people from his community that their only political aim was to drive out missionaries, moneylenders, Hindu landlords and the government, and set up a Munda Raj with Birsa at its head. So students, as a result, the movement was widespread. Students, with the widespread of this movement made the Britishers worried. So they decided to act against it and to curb it down by arresting Birsa Munda. So in the year 1895, the Britisher arrested Birsa. But after 2 years, means in 1897, he was released. And after his release, Birsa started touring villages to gather support, and he symbolized Britishers as Ravan and urged people to destroy them in order to establish his own kingdom. So students, the followers of Birsa targeted many churches and police stations and destroyed them as they belonged to Dikus, means the outsider. They also raised a white flag as a symbol of Birsa Raj. But students, in the year 1900, Birsa was died due to cholera, and this movement was faded out. Means this movement somehow came to an end. But students, this movement was relevant for two reasons. The first, it forced the British government to make laws so that the land of the tribals couldn't be taken away easily by the Decus. Secondly, it showed the capacity of tribes to protest and show their anger against the injustice, and they did this by inventing their own way and symbols. Now students, that's how the different tribal communities raised their voice against the injustice or the vicious laws that were imposed by the Britishers on them. Now students, with this topic here, your chapter number 4 is completed. Now I will be come back soon with another chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe and stay healthy.